took your picture quietly, almost secretly. No names were spoken. No stories told, just an image, and one by one, the shamans looked at it. Old eyes that had seen lifetimes, each of them paused, then nodded. Some whispered prayers, others smiled in silence, and all of them said the same thing. This soul is protected by something beyond this world. But what does that mean? Perhaps you've always felt it, that strange pull when you were about to fall. But something invisible held you back, that moment you almost stepped into harm's way, but the world shifted and saved you, that inexplicable calm during chaos. The protection you cannot see, but always feel. You see, in my years of walking this sacred path, I've come to learn there are souls born not just to live, but to awaken others, and these souls are rarely loud. They don't always know their purpose immediately. In fact, they often struggle the most. But the divine keeps them hidden, sheltered, watched. Let me tell you a story. When I was a young monk, fresh in robes and still full of questions, I visited a Himalayan temple known only to a few. The air was thin, the silence thick, and there, an elder monk told me something I'll never forget. He said, "The ones who shine the brightest don't always know they are shining until the darkness seeks them." That struck me. Because many of you watching this now, you've felt like you don't belong. You've felt isolated in crowds. You've loved deeply, even when it hurt. You've given without asking for anything in return. You've been misunderstood, but you never stopped believing. That is not weakness. That is spiritual endurance, and for souls like yours, protection comes not in armor, but in alignment. The universe does not waste warriors. You are shielded not because you are fragile, but because you are valuable. Let's reflect deeper. Do you remember the nights where sleep wouldn't come, but your mind raced with thoughts you didn't understand? That was your intuition knocking. Do you recall the friendships that ended abruptly, even though you loved them? That was divine interference removing what would distract your mission. We often ask, why did they leave me? But the question should be, what was I being prepared for? I once met a man in Nepal who had survived 3 near-death experiences. He asked every holy man he met, "Why me?" One old woman finally replied, "Because your soul hasn't completed its promise, and maybe that's you, too, maybe. You were pulled from the edge more times than you can count, because something knows. When you finally remember who you are, you will heal nations, you will awaken sleeping minds, you will break generational patterns. You will remind the world that there is still love. But to walk this path, you must first remember what you carry inside. Now listen closely. You don't need to visit 12 shamans to know you're protected. You've already survived too much not to be. You've already heard the whisper in silence, the guidance in chaos. You've felt chills during truth and warmth during prayer. You are already connected. You are already held. And if you're still wondering, but why me? I will ask you, who else could endure what you've endured and still love like this? Protection isn't a reward, it's a recognition, a sign that the heavens have taken notice of your soul's commitment to light, even when surrounded by shadows. So, what now? Now, you walk with awareness, you pause more, you listen more. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because your spirit deserves peace. You speak less to be understood and more to understand. You let go not to lose, but to free. And most of all, you remember that you are never alone. As this journey unfolds, I'll be here to guide you gently, to remind you of what you've forgotten, and to speak the truths your heart already knows. For now, let this be enough. You are protected not because you are chosen to be safe, but because you are chosen to be significant. Camera slowly zooms out as the monk looks up at the rustling leaves above. And in the next part of this journey, we will explore the 7 signs that prove you've been walking a spiritual path all along, even when you thought you were lost. But for now, breathe deeply, close your eyes, and say softly, "I am protected." We'll continue this reflection in the next chapter. In the stillness between breaths, in the pause between night and morning, there is a voice. It does not shout, it does not beg to be heard, but it waits for you to remember. We left off with a truth. You are protected because your soul is significant. But many still ask, how do I know I've been walking a spiritual path, especially when I've felt so lost? Let me share with you now 7 signs that your journey, no matter how broken it has seemed, has always been spiritual. Sign 1. You've experienced pain that transformed you, not just pain that hurt, but pain that shifted your worldview. You were not shattered, you were reformed. In Buddhism, we say suffering is not the end, it is the gateway to wisdom. You cried not because you were weak, but because your soul was cleansing itself of illusions. I once met a woman in the mountains of Ladakh. Her husband left, her house burned down, and her voice trembled with sorrow, yet she smiled. I asked her, "Why do you smile in your ruin?" She replied, "Because I finally hear the sound of myself without all the noise." That is the gift of spiritual pain. It strips you bare until all that remains is truth. Sign 2. You sense energy, not just words. You feel drained around certain people, and energized by others, you walk into a room and your heart knows before your mind catches up. This is not superstition, this is energetic intelligence. And it means your soul has matured. When I was in a remote Thai monastery, we were taught not just to hear words, but to feel intentions, the elder would say. Don't listen with your ears, listen with your silence. You have this gift too. You've walked away from conversations that sounded kind but felt wrong. And you stayed in moments that had no words but felt sacred. That's not coincidence, that's awakening. Sign 3. You've lost what you once thought you couldn't live without, and yet, here you are. Grief didn't destroy you, it humbled you. You've watched people walk away, you've buried dreams, you've said goodbye to chapters you prayed would last forever, and still, you breathe. That kind of strength isn't accidental, it's spiritual evolution. When the soul releases its attachments, it returns home. Sign 4. You talk to the universe even if you don't call it prayer. Maybe it's late at night, maybe it's a whisper in your car, maybe it's tears you cry alone. But you speak to something greater. That is sacred dialogue. That is prayer in its most honest form. You don't need incense, altars, or temples. You just need a willing heart, and the universe, it has never stopped listening. It replies in moments you almost ignored, the song that plays at the perfect time, the stranger's smile, the feather on the ground, the breeze that brushes your cheek and tells you you're not alone. Sign 5. You are drawn to silence, nature, and solitude more than ever. This is not you being distant. This is your spirit remembering what it means to be present. Noise distracts, silence heals. You no longer chase crowds, you crave peace, not because you're antisocial, but because your soul is finally full enough to stop begging for external validation. Remember, a tree grows silently, a mountain does not need applause, so too the spiritually mature become quiet. Sign 6. You're becoming less judgmental, more compassionate. Where once you would criticize, now you observe. Where once you'd condemn, now you wonder what wounds shaped them. This is one of the clearest signs of spiritual growth. You start to realize everyone is carrying pain, and your anger softens into empathy. As I've walked through war-torn lands and orphanages, I've seen anger, yes. But behind every furious I was a child, unseen, unheard, unloved. To awaken spiritually is not to become better. It is to remember we are all just trying to return to love. Sign 7. You have moments where you feel deeply connected to everything. It might last seconds, maybe it came while watching a sunrise, or during a song that moved your soul, or while holding a loved one's hand in stillness. For a moment, your ego disappeared. Time stopped, and everything felt right. That is oneness, that is divine memory. Those moments aren't rare, you've simply forgotten how often. They whispered out. Your spirit knows it's always been protected because it remembers where it came from. So now I ask you, how many of these signs live inside your story, even if only one speaks to you? It is enough to know you are not lost, you are returning. The path of awakening is not found by running outward. It is discovered by coming home to yourself, and this journey, it is just beginning. In the next chapter, we will speak about the silent protectors, the unseen forces, ancestors, guides, and divine whispers that walk beside you every day. You don't need to see them to know they are there. You just need to listen a little closer. So close your eyes now, feel your breath, and let this knowing settle. You are on the path, you are being guided, you are protected. When I was a younger monk, I asked a very old teacher, why do some people seem to be protected even when they take risks? Even when life is chaotic? He smiled, his face etched with time, and whispered, because some souls were chosen before they were born. Now, that may sound mystical, even unbelievable. But listen closely, there are silent protectors around you, just as there are invisible winds that carry the scent of a blooming flower. You cannot always see these protectors, but their presence has followed you in every near miss, every miracle, every quiet comfort in your darkest hour. Today, we go deeper into the realm of the unseen, those divine forces, ancient ancestors, spirit guides, and karmic protectors who have walked beside you even when you didn't believe in such things. Let's begin with a truth that is both humbling and empowering. You are never alone. 1. Ancestors who refused to let your line end in darkness. Some of your pain was never yours, it was passed down. Through blood, through story, through silence, but some of your strength was passed down too. I once sat with a man who told me he felt like giving up. He had lost his job. His family was falling apart, and nothing made sense. When we meditated together, tears came to his eyes. He said, I saw a woman I didn't recognize standing behind me, holding my shoulders. Later, he found an old photo. It was his great-grandmother, whom he never met. He wept, because in that moment he knew he was being held by someone he'd never known in this life, but who knew him across lifetimes. You may not know their names, you may not have their pictures, but your ancestors remember you, and many of them vowed long ago That the pain would stop with them so you could rise. Every time you've almost given up, something pulled you back. Now you know what that something was. 2 spirit guides and inner guardians. Some are not ancestors, they are beings of light. They never walked the earth, but they have walked with you. Guides speak through gut feelings, through the book that falls off a shelf, through the stranger who says just the right words, through synchronicity. I remember walking alone through a storm many years ago. I was cold, lost, confused. But in the wind, a voice whispered, "You are still being watched." I stopped, not out of fear, but recognition. Since then, I've learned to walk in faith, not fear. Because when you truly trust your unseen protectors, you no longer need proof, you need presence. If you've ever felt nudged away from danger, if you've ever had a sudden urge to leave a place or stop speaking to someone, that was your guide. They don't demand your belief, they only ask your attention. 3. Divine timing and cosmic protection. Many people confuse delays with denial. But not everything happens when you want it because the universe loves you too much to rush your growth. Imagine giving fire to a child. Power too early becomes destruction. Some doors didn't open because they were traps. Some people walked away because they were distractions. Some dreams crumbled because they weren't your real destiny. You weren't being punished. You were being protected. The universe isn't working against you. It is sculpting you. And timing? It's the most compassionate form of divine alignment. You weren't late. You were being prepared. For nature itself is a silent guardian. There is wisdom in wind, guidance in rivers, protection in forests. Have you ever noticed how a tree bends with the wind but never breaks? How the ocean retreats only to return in full force? How birds don't question the sky, they trust it. Nature is a mirror, and often, when you are surrounded by it, you begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Many monks live in nature not to escape the world, but to return to what the world forgot. The earth has always tried to bring you back to yourself. That peace you feel in nature isn't random, it's a reunion. So, if you've ever asked, why didn't that accident happen? Why did I leave that place just in time? Why do I feel protected, even when I don't feel strong? Now you know. You are protected because your purpose is not finished. Because someone or something is still guiding you back to your soul's contract. The picture that was shown to the shamans, they didn't just see your face. They saw your aura, a luminous, ancient field of energy that told them this one is here for more. You may not remember all your lifetimes, but the light within you remembers them all. And so I leave you with this thought tonight. If you've been walking through life, feeling different, feeling watched, feeling guarded by something you cannot name, you are not imagining it, you are remembering it. Breathe with me now. Inhale, exhale, place your hand on your heart. Feel that rhythm. That is not just your heartbeat. It is your guardians tapping gently, saying, "We are still here." Monk bows his head in reverence. The candle beside him flickers brightly. And in the next part of this sacred journey, we will talk about the tests, why the most protected souls often endure the hardest lives, why suffering is not a punishment, but a purification. If your life has been full of trials, you need to hear what comes next. You are walking towards something deeper, and I will walk with you. As we continue together, we have now walked together through the presence of protectors, the whispers of spirit guides, and the quiet truth that your soul has always been known, even when you felt invisible to the world. But now, let us explore a harder truth, one that makes many weep before they understand. Why do the most protected souls seem to endure the greatest suffering? Why do those who carry the deepest light seem to face the darkest nights, the trials of the chosen ones? There's a sacred law in the spiritual world: gold must go through fire. The stronger the vessel, the more pressure it must survive, the deeper the roots, the greater the storm they must endure. You, beloved soul, have been tested. You've been through heartbreak that left you gasping for meaning. You've carried guilt and shame that were never truly yours. You've trusted people who broke you, loved people who left you, and walked alone in rooms full of others. This wasn't random. This wasn't cruel. This was refinement. A soul with a mission must be carved until only truth remains. I once stayed in a monastery where silence was kept for 100 days. No talking, no music, no contact. In that silence, I came face to face with my shadow, old memories, buried fears, doubt. But slowly, those shadows turned to teachers. They whispered, "Do not run from your darkness. It holds the blueprint of your light." And yes, you have been through these trials because your soul signed up for transcendence, not comfort. Your pain was the portal. Every tear you cried watered the roots of your becoming. Every rejection redirected you to sacred ground. Every loss stripped away what no longer belonged to your destiny. People often say, "Why me?" But perhaps the real question is, why not you? The soul that can endure is the soul that can enlighten others. You were never meant to live a quiet, invisible life. You were meant to awaken, and awaken others. And how does one awaken? by walking through fire and coming out as light. The sacred loneliness. Many of the most awakened souls walk through a season of loneliness. You look around and no one understands you. The conversations feel hollow. The dreams you have seem too strange, too deep, too much. But hear me, dear one, that loneliness was sacred. It was the universe's way of removing noise so you could hear your own soul speak. When you stop fitting into the old world, it's because a new one is being built within you. Do not grieve your solitude. Celebrate it. It means you are nearing a breakthrough. Emotional depth is not a weakness. It is a mark of the protected. You feel everything, don't you? The sadness of others, the joy in silence, the ache of memories not even your own. This sensitivity isn't a flaw, it is your spiritual radar. It is how your guardians speak to you. The chosen ones are not chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they are tuned to suffering, tuned to injustice, tuned to healing, and most of all, tuned to truth. Why you were broken first. It may seem unfair, but many souls who are meant to heal others are first broken themselves, so they can learn compassion. Not from a book, but from lived pain. The medicine you bring to others was born from your own wound. And the wound, it is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your purpose. I once met a man who had been imprisoned for 12 years for a crime he did not commit. When released, he didn't seek revenge. Instead, he opened a school for children in poverty. He said to me, "My pain became my compass. It showed me where to love." This is what the divine does with chosen souls. It allows the fire, then turns them into light. So if your life has been heavy, if your path has been full of loss, if you've begged the heavens to take the pain away, know this, you were being carved into a vessel for something sacred. And now, it's time to stop asking why it happened and start asking what it's preparing you for. You are not here by accident. You are not watching this by coincidence. Your soul was sent here because you are ready to remember. Breathe in. Let that truth settle in your chest like warm fire. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. And in the next chapter of our journey together, we will speak about awakening, the moment your soul begins to rise, and the signs that you are stepping fully into your divine mission. It is one thing to be protected. It is another to be activated. That time is now. We will walk through what happens when you no longer resist the call. When you finally say yes to the reason you were born. You've survived. Now, it's time to awaken. We have walked through shadow, through pain, silence, and divine protection, and now, beloved one, we arrive at the threshold where awakening begins. This is the moment your soul starts to remember why it came here. Not just to survive, not just to heal, but to serve, to rise, to awaken the world through your presence. You see, awakening is not a lightning bolt from the sky. It is not fireworks or dramatic visions. It is gentle, subtle, quiet. At first, it begins when you can no longer live in the illusion of who you're not, and it becomes unstoppable the moment you say, "I am ready." Awakening begins with surrender, not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind of surrender that says, "I no longer need to control everything. I trust the path unfolding beneath me." I remember a time when I tried to force clarity. I sat in meditation, demanding answers. But the more I tried to hold on, the more life seemed to slip through my fingers, until one day, I whispered, "Okay, I trust you." And in that moment, peace flooded in, not because the storm stopped, but because I stopped fighting the storm. Awakening begins not in control, but in release. Clarity replaces confusion. One of the signs of awakening is the quiet arrival of clarity. You start to see people for who they really are, not who you want them to be. You feel what's right for you, even if others don't understand. You start letting go. Not with bitterness, but with love. Old habits fall away. Old desires no longer tempt you. What used to excite your ego now feels empty, and what once seemed boring, stillness, simplicity, silence, become sacred. This is your soul taking the wheel. No more forcing, just flowing. You become a mirror for others as you awaken. People will feel something shift in you. They may not be able to explain it, but they'll say things like, "You feel different. I feel calm around you. I don't know why, but I trust you." That's because awakened souls emit energy. They don't need to preach. They don't need to convert. They simply radiate. Like a candle in a dark room. You don't have to shout. You just have to shine. But be warned, not everyone will understand your light. Some will mock it. Some will walk away. Let them. You are not here to dim. You are here to illuminate. Awakening demands responsibility. To be awake in a sleeping world is not always easy. You will see the wounds behind the smiles. You will feel the truth beneath the lies. You will be called to love those who are hardest to love, because when you awaken, you realize that the world isn't something outside of you, it is part of you. The pain of others becomes yours, the healing of others becomes your joy, and your very life becomes a prayer. This is the quiet responsibility of the awakened, to walk in peace, even when the world is chaotic, to anchor truth when others are lost in illusion, To choose compassion over judgment again and again, this is not weakness, this is spiritual mastery. Your divine assignment will begin to unfold, no more searching for your purpose as if it's lost. It was never lost, it was simply waiting for you to awaken enough to recognize it. You'll begin to feel pulled in new directions, new dreams will rise, some small, like planting a garden, some bold, like healing communities, all sacred. Because the awakened soul doesn't need to be famous, it just needs to be true. And as you walk this new path, your protectors will not leave. They will walk even closer, not to save you from life, but to empower you to live it fully. So now, the question is not will you awaken, you already are. The question is, will you honor the calling, will you speak truth when it's easier to stay silent, will you forgive when it feels impossible? Will you show love to those who do not yet know how to receive it? This is your time. This is your becoming, and you are not late, you are not broken, you are not lost. You are rising like the sun behind me, slow, steady, unstoppable. Let's take one final breath together. Inhale clarity, exhale fear. You are ready, you are seen. You are protected. And in the final chapter of this sacred journey, we will complete the circle and speak of what it means to live as a fully awakened soul. In a chaotic world, we will explore how to serve without burnout, love without attachment, and walk in light without needing to prove your worth to anyone. The final step of the journey is to live the truth you now remember. You have walked with me now through every chapter of this sacred remembrance. From the moment your picture was taken before the eyes of 12 wise shamans to the realization that your soul is not only protected but also prepared to become a light for others. And so now we arrive, not at the end, but at the beginning of your awakened life. You see, the final stage of this journey is not knowledge, it is embodiment. To live what you've remembered, to walk what you've spoken, to breathe your truth even when no one is watching. Because awakening is not a single moment, it is a way of being. Living as an awakened soul in a sleeping world, the world will still test you. There will still be noise, confusion, injustice, and sorrow, but you now carry stillness within. You will be the calm in the storm, the quiet voice in a loud room, the open hand in a clenched world. You will not need to fight to be seen because the awakened soul sees itself. You will not run from pain because you understand it is the soil from which compassion grows. And you will no longer fear losing anything because your spirit knows nothing real can ever be taken. What awakening asks of you now to be awake is not to be perfect. It is to be present. It means being able to sit with someone in silence and say more than 1,000 words could. It means smiling at a stranger, not because you have to, but because love flows freely through you now. It means no longer chasing destiny, but realizing you are living it already. You won't need to announce who you are, your energy will speak it for you. You won't need to cling to anything because you are connected to everything. You are the sacred fire now. In ancient times, those who were awakened were called lamps because they lit the way for others, not with noise, not with force, but by simply burning consistently. So let your presence be a lamp, let your actions be your message, let your breath be your prayer. Let your life become your temple, and to those who still sleep, do not judge them. Just love them gently, silently, without agenda, because once you were there too. And perhaps, just perhaps, they are only one sunrise away from remembering who they are. Final blessings and a monk's promise before we part ways. I offer you one final blessing. May you always remember the light that brought you here. May you walk with peace even when the path is unclear. May you give without fear, love without limits, and rise without apology. And may you become the reminder others need that we are all here to return to love. And I promise you this, whenever you feel lost again, return here. Return to this space, this stillness, close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and you will feel us again walking beside you, the protectors, the guides, the ancestors. And yes, me too. You are not alone, you have never been. The picture they showed the shamans, it was never just a photo, it was a mirror, and now you have seen what they saw. You are protected, you are chosen, and now, dear soul, you are awake. Go now, live gently, love deeply, and light the way. This is your time. This is your truth, this is your return. Thank you for remembering. Awakening is not a destination, it is a daily devotion. If this message found your soul today, let it live in your heart forever. Like this video if you felt the light, subscribe to at them on Quithin for more sacred reflections. Every week, comment I am awake and protected if this journey has transformed you. Share this with someone whose soul needs to remember who they truly are.